Welcome to She Trusts Herself, the podcast for women who are learning to trust themselves, honor their inner voice, and choose themselves without guilt. I'm your host, Tash Leem, author, guest speaker, and certified human design reader. Together, we'll explore overcoming self-doubt, building deep self-trust, personal growth, and stepping into the next version of yourself with confidence. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I am joined by the incredible Tiff, and Tiff is going to take it away and tell us about herself.
Yes. Hello, everybody. And thanks, Tash, for having me on your podcast. I'm super excited to get in and talk about all things Bravery, which is my passion and my business. I do both marketing services and business coaching for other coaches and service-based business owners and help them do brave things in their business. And sometimes I do the hard work and then sometimes they're doing the hard work on the coaching side. So that's that side of my business. And I also run the Business Bravery podcast, and I run Brave Coffee Connections, which is a free monthly meetup for coaches and service-based business owners. Bravery is my thing. That's all you really need to remember.
I love it. And I know that we were just chatting before we hit record, and you were saying that you're a manifesting generator. And I love that. Even though you have a few different things going on, people may think, oh my gosh, so busy. But it all falls under that umbrella of bravery and what you're truly passionate about. I know that you've been building on your business as well. And the business coffee catch-ups are something that's new this year. And for anyone that hasn't had the chance to jump on a call yet, I highly recommend it because it's really fun from a virtual networking perspective. You just get straight in and ask some really incredible questions that you really want to sit with, and it's just refreshing to have that space to chat about it, but also hear what other people are going through as well, because I feel that there's sometimes a disconnect from what you're on social media versus real life, what's going on behind the scenes. It can be hard to have those vulnerable conversations and admit what's not going so well, because you want to be able to show other people that you're doing all of the things and it's all smooth sailing. You're like, yeah, it's great. And then on the inside, you're like, no, it's not. So having that space and that platform to have those conversations is so incredibly valuable. I'd love for you to share with the audience how your business came to be and how it keeps evolving.
First up, I'm so glad that you enjoy the Brave Coffee Connections catch up. That was something that sort of came out of a whole thing I had with networking calls, like where you show up and everybody's just, they're looking at their watch, yawning, waiting for their turn to talk. They do their spiel, everybody goes away. And sure, there might be some coffee chats and everything, but it's really surface and high level. The Brave Coffee Connections, I wanted something different, something a little more real, a bit more fun. A couple of people have said to me that it's like it is a little bit more vulnerable in terms of we have a reflection question that drives the connection, and then after that we have more of a what if, or a sort of imagination question of if you did things differently, what would it look like. I just love connecting with people and chatting about those kinds of ideas and then being, oh, what do you do again? And that's, I don't know, it's just been fun, and it just feels like I really connect with people that way. And yeah, seems to be what a lot of people have been saying back. So I'm glad that it's not just me. You dream these things up in your own and you're like, it's going to be amazing. And everybody's, yeah, not really. It's just you, Tiff. I always think that before I'm launching that thing. Is it just me? So I'm glad about that. And you said about how my business has evolved with this one umbrella. And I just want to say that was not like an overnight success thing. That wasn't anything that came easily. I've spent time trying to find niches and ways to just pick one thing, and which felt so hard for me as like a manifesting generator. In fact, and I didn't even know I was a manifesting generator. It was only a few years ago I came across that term, and I was like, oh, it's okay for me to have 500 hobbies? Oh, wow, okay. It's okay for me to have all of these interests and be more of a generalist and not specialize in one thing. These days, I think it's more normal that people have multiple things going on for business, and I do this and do that. And in fact, I've attracted a lot more people who are doing services and coaching. And I had a coach say to me once, I've never seen anybody do that. And now those are all the people that I'm meeting, where a lot of us are going that way. What I want to say is, if you're out there and you're struggling because you're multi-passionate and you're struggling to come up with a niche or something like that, just know that it can take some time, and don't feel too concerned about that because for me, it was when I started the Business Bravery podcast that I had this whole thing of bravery. And I was like, oh, wow, here's a way where everything connects. Here's my umbrella and a way for me to talk to people so that they can remember me for one thing, but I can still do 500 different things under that bravery umbrella.
I love that. And as a fellow Manny Gen as well, I think when you have that realization, it's that unknowing permission slip that you've needed and that confirmation that there isn't anything wrong with you because you haven't been able to niche down and fit yourself into a box, because we're not designed that way. We're not built that way. And I think even when it comes to business too, there'll be times where you love what you're doing up until a point, and then you go, I'm ready for it to evolve into the next thing. And it's also giving yourself that space to realize you're not being flaky or avoiding something in your business. You just are following your spark. And then that's going to keep attracting in clients as well, because you're just keeping up with that momentum and keeping yourself passionate and in love with what you're doing. It's so interesting how when you give yourself that space to branch out and not niche down like so many people are told to do, that's when all of the ideas come to life and you really step into what you want to be doing. That's what I found this year as well. I've built the foundations for my business under a different umbrella of personal development, but it's the same thing where I can go, okay, I've got my human design readings, I've got my podcast, I've got my books, I've got my guest speaking, but it all ties back to the same thing, similar to you. When people do find out that they're Manny Gens, it's such a weight off when you realize that you can build a business that way. You don't have to just be a specialist. Like you said, you can be a generalist and still be successful and deliver the transformations and give your clients what they're after.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that whole specialist versus generalist thing, I used to make myself crazy because I don't know about you, but I picked up the messages from society of you should specialize in something. And with business and with content creation, like my background is in marketing and I was doing that as day jobs and things. And then that led into my business and everything. So there's really a lot in that space as well of pick one thing. I used to drive myself crazy being like, oh, I should be more specialist, but now I give myself permission and I see it as the specialists need people like us because we see connections between things and from different industries and things like that. We come up with those creative, innovative solutions that you can only do if you're a generalist and understand things across different industries and ideas and things like that. It's been good.
Yeah, that's amazing. With being a generalist, have an assumption, or at least I did, that if you're a generalist, you know nothing in a sense, which is why you feel the need to be a specialist. But you can still be a generalist and have a huge background of knowledge and experience, which is incredibly valuable. There is definitely a need in the world as a whole and in business for both, like you were saying, because that's how new things get created, because we make those connections and we build those bridges between things. And it's really nice and refreshing to see that's becoming more popular. It's like more people are breaking their mold and giving themselves that permission to be all the things if it feels right for them. Of course, if it doesn't, be a specialist and you're still serving yourself and the world in the way that you're meant to. But some of us are designed differently, do better as a generalist, and we're not getting frustrated or feeling like we're constantly having to pick between two things or more that we absolutely love. And I think that's where the battle is, because you go, okay, I could do this, but I really want to do both. Why do I need to choose? And it's so freeing when you don't have to choose. You can have it all.
I used to hear advice where it was like, oh, if you do two things, then it's going to slow you down and you're not going to get success as quickly. But for me, when I focused on one thing or when I niched down, like it was just crickets because it was so unaligned for me at that time. And I reserve the right to change my mind in the future if I suddenly work this out and be like, hey, here's the one thing I do. But yeah, it was so unaligned. I think people could just tell my heart wasn't in it. The confidence wasn't there. I didn't light up with passion. And those are the things that help people like want to work with you and doing services and doing coaching. It's like being okay to be yourself and being okay to be different and being brave enough to break the rules, whatever those rules are. Like, I often say that like I've been doing this stuff. I've been in online marketing since 2011 and I've worked with over like hundreds of clients across different industries and everything. I've seen people follow all the rules and make $0. I've seen people break rules, all of them, and make tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, right? And they're just doing their own thing.
Did you want to talk about how your business?
I guess how my business came to be was I always wanted to run a business. My parents owned a very successful business when I was young, and I actually started working in their business when I was like 8 or 9. They sold computers back in the late 80s or 90s. We went from being working class to all of a sudden having all of this extra money coming in. And my parents were selling computers to like Antarctica and Fiji, and Mum and I got to go to Fiji for 3 weeks while she installed computers in the Sheraton over there and stuff. I always want to have my own business, and then trying to work out what that was, and various things that didn't work out. Everything from like a hamper business in the 2000s called Tiffany Joe's Gifts to Go that failed because it was way too early. The internet couldn't do what I needed to do, and I couldn't program. When I started my business, I actually started it in photography and video because that was my passion. Marketing was my day job. That was my passion. And I was helping business owners do videos and things like that. And that led to me being in networking groups, and people would be like, oh, I don't know how to get clients. I'd be like, oh, here's 5 marketing strategies off the top of my head because that's my day job. And then they're, oh, hey, can you help me? And then that's how it ended up to me doing marketing consulting. There was the side of things where it's, oh, here's what I love, here's what people want to pay me. And then the other side of things was that I just didn't enjoy turning photography into a business. Because and I guess most passionate business owners will understand that when you start a business, 80% of it is marketing and sales, and the 20% is the passion that you love. So all of a sudden it turned from enjoying photography into every minute you spend editing is dead money and you need to do this. And that wasn't fun for me. I still do video work and everything. That's more fun. But yeah, it was just the photography side I didn't enjoy. And I also didn't enjoy doing all this work to give stuff to entrepreneurs and then they wouldn't use it because they had their own mindset issues. So that led to marketing services. And then I found that I could give 2 different clients the same strategy or similar strategies because that's what they needed for them. And yet, depending on their mindset, they would get completely different results. And the ones who could manage their mind would get amazing results. And the ones who were like, I'm waiting for the universe to show me that this is possible. And that'll only be possible if people buy from me, but I don't feel confident. Like the confidence and everything starts in you first. So seeing that led to me doing more work in the mindset area. And then I worked on my mindset and I went from being a very anxious, stressed out individual to being more grounded and showing up as a leader, and all with the help of that Business Bravery podcast, which came in a bit later.
It hasn't been an overnight success. It's something that you've been building for a long time, and it's been through trial and error. And from what you shared, it's become what it has through observation and organic conversations and noticing what people are after, and even to just be paying that much attention to your clients to know, okay, I can deliver that same strategy, which I know is proven to be effective and is absolute gold, but it depends on the person. Is that whole, you can lead a camel to water, but they're not necessarily going to drink it if they don't want to. It's really cool that people are starting to dig beneath the surface in terms of, yes, I can give someone a strategy or share something, but if they're not ready to receive it, or they don't have that confidence in themselves to do the brave thing, to use that knowledge and put it into action, then there's that disconnect. When you have that realization, how did that change your approach to your clients, and did that transform anything within your business?
Oh yeah, it transformed everything. So I brought more mindset stuff into the coaching and consulting side, especially, and even a little bit on the services side, just because the people who hire me, yes, I'm doing the work, but then they're also the leader of their business, and they need to set the tone and believe in it themselves and show up as a leader too. I brought in mindsets. I'd start with, okay, how are you feeling? What's going on? What thoughts are you having? And we do that in the first half of the session, and then get into more of the actual marketing strategies and everything in the second half of the session. And then I started creating more coaching frameworks that had both the marketing and mindset blended. And then when I started the Business Bravery framework, that's when it all came together between the in this way of talking about it of, hey, this is my unique blend of marketing and mindset. Because if it was just a strategy, you would have worked it out by now. Like for the people who have tried so many strategies, that was my story too. As a marketer, I thought mindset was the thing that I was going to work out when I hit my 6 figures. Joke's on me, not going to make it there till I worked this mindset stuff out first. And that's what I needed to get to the next level and everything for my business, especially.
We do. We think, oh, I need the strategy first, and then that will solve all of my issues. Whereas it's actually a change that we need internally to shift to become that next person to be able to digest and apply the strategy. That's where a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, we make that mistake or learn that lesson. And I think you have to go through that to have that realization, because people can tell you, oh, you need to get your mindset right or ready for the next stage that you want to enter into before you can apply the strategy. And you're like, nah, I'll be fine. And then it's not until you're in that you go, oh, okay, they're actually correct. I do need to do that work before I do the work. Taking it back to your clients as well, once you built the business bravery framework, how did you notice a shift in your clients and their output and outcomes?
I want to talk about first before I talk about my clients is like my own experiences with this thing. Because for me, like what I found, and for my clients as well, if you don't have your mindset, like if you can't show up with confidence and really stay in the belief of here's the thing I'm building, then you find that you go out and it's, oh, hey, I'm building this coaching business, for example, and here's my coaching offer. And then the first person who says, no, that's not really what I want this other thing, you'll turn around, and I've seen my clients do this too, you'll turn around and go, oh my God, maybe I should change everything. Everything I'm doing is wrong. And this is where you need to become that person in the biopic. I've watched a few of these, right? She's crazy and everybody's telling her no. And she's like, this is it. This is going to work. And they just hear no after no after no. And yet, no, this is what I'm building. And the right people will get it. And suddenly everything just changes and all that kind of thing. So like that's sort of the differences that I see in the outcomes. The other difference that I see too, though, is that by starting to talk about mindset and marketing, I would actually get people who are interested in the two of those together coming to me. So previously, like when I tried to start working in some mindset to some of my clients, just it wasn't their thing. They didn't want that. They just, no, let's just focus on the marketing. And I say this with love because I used to be this too. They were so disconnected about how they felt and even their thoughts on things, and they couldn't see the power of how that happens and how that was affecting their business, that they didn't want to go into it. And so I could only help them so far. But then the people who were like, oh yeah, I can see that. Like, for example, one of my clients, and we only ended up doing like one session, but she came in and was like, okay, oh, I just need this new strategy. And when we got into it, actually what she needed was confidence to say no to a couple of things. We shifted that in one session. And then she went out and like just took the world by storm and grew her business and everything like that, because like she was getting herself upset because she'd have a down period in her business, right? So wintertime, people wouldn't come in as much or something like that. She was doing like massage therapy and more medical stuff. It's a few years ago, so I don't remember all the details. But yeah, it's just like she was like telling herself she was a bad business owner because her numbers would drop. And then when I sat down, I was like, hang on, but this is a thing that happens every time this year. And so you can either go, okay, this is a down period, I'm going to do something else, but you don't need to tell yourself that you're a terrible business owner and everything's going terribly because you don't have money this month. This is a thing we can plan for and plan around. She was, oh, great, no worries. And then she just went off and filled some extra spots and did some extra classes. It was a totally different thing. But if she was showing up from this energy where she just kept telling herself, oh man, I'm terrible at this, I'm never going to make money, then she wouldn't have gone out and sold those places. Because if you can't show up in confidence and with energy and with passion, then people aren't going to buy from you. And they're not going to know why. They're just going to be like, this doesn't feel like the right fit for me. And then you're going to hear more of those no's, which reinforce that I'm a terrible business owner. And that's where you need something to be able to keep the brain sharp and in this level of confidence, even when you're hearing no's. And it's like this inner self-worth, which can take some time to build.
When you can hold steady in terms of knowing the transformation that you offer, then it is that process of elimination. One no doesn't mean all the people in the world are going to say no to you. It's just maybe that person doesn't need it right now. It's not a reflection of you. And it's not necessarily a reflection of them either. It's just a no. We get emotionally attached to that and we go, like you were saying, oh, we need to change everything because I keep hearing no. And maybe you do down the track, but it's just holding steady and knowing that you will find someone that needs what you do. Or maybe it's just refining your message, or maybe being a little bit more confident. It's not necessarily about the offer. It could just be the delivery and the energy that's behind it as well. There's so many different variables. It's really incredible that you made that connection of mindset and strategy and leading by example with your clients as well, because I know that you put yourself in uncomfortable positions in terms of trying new things out in your business, even starting the Bravery coffee connections. I know how uncomfortable that was for you, yet you did it. And I think it's so refreshing to see that as a coach and a businesswoman, that you are definitely leading by example and you're not just telling your clients, oh yeah, just go and do the hard thing, it's fine. And you're just in your area of comfort. You're constantly expanding that. And I'd love for you to share how you felt when you did launch the Business Bravery Coffee Connections. And I'm just adding extra words to the title of that. And just how you felt when you had the idea, but also in that very first Zoom.
I definitely want to answer that, but I thought of something while you were talking before, and that whole, the hearing no thing and how we can want to avoid that. So I did an experiment recently where I was like, what if I celebrated no's exactly the same as hearing a yes? What would I do differently? And that was a big part of me starting Brave Coffee Connections. Just want to say to anybody out there, just do it. Because if you notice that you feel a sting when you feel the no, you hear the no, I don't know, you're going to feel a little bit. We're all human. And the lizard brain is designed for us not to be rejected, so we stay safe. If we celebrate the no's the same as the yeses, then there's less to be afraid of, and you can go out and do those awkward DMs and do those things. On to your other question, though, definitely I do brave things every day, even like sending the difficult text message, telling somebody no, the awkward conversations, just things that I used to try and run away from and everything like that. So like big and small, I am doing the brave things all the time, especially because I do run the Business Bravery podcast. And so I psych myself up of, oh, bravery is awesome, let's do this. And yet I still have to manage it with my nervous system though. Like I need downtime and times where I'm not doing brave things, or I have recovery time in my schedule, things like that. So yeah, I am doing the brave things all the time. When it came to Brave Coffee Connections, so you need to know that this is my 5th time of trying to start some sort of online group, right? I have had failure after failure. Like I had my first one, it was a marketing group, and I let people join for free and nobody did anything because it was free. Brave Coffee Connections is free as well, but it's in kind of a different thing where networking people expect a certain amount of free. I just have kept trying at building these groups, and I've had these, and I've shown up as different versions of myself in terms of how confident I was, how much of a leader, and how stressed out I was trying to lead. Even though I have a background in teaching and doing stuff in classrooms, running the calls and things like that, I put a lot of pressure on myself. And yeah, I think people could see that. And so they were like, yeah, we'll come for a few, but yeah, we're over it now. So Brave Coffee Connections came after I've been thinking about this for quite some time. I was in a different networking group and the host wasn't able to attend to run it. And I said I would do it because it was more in the Australian time zone. She gave me this layout and I did her stuff, and it was the asking questions and things like that. One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn as a coach is not to jump in and coach people, but it's give them questions and let them come to their own realizations and things like that. Not that Brave Coffee Connections is like a hardcore coaching thing, but I do find like that time to reflect and then connecting through deeper conversations is really interesting. I really enjoyed running that for somebody else. And then I thought, oh, maybe I can do that for me. Then this year, all of my networking things just all closed down in the same 3-month period. And so being based in Australia, all the cool stuff's usually happening in the middle of the night in the US. And so I was like, okay, I just have to start my own. The universe was like, here it is, start your own. I had 1 week off at the Gold Coast where it's our annual time away. My husband and I didn't open a laptop the whole week for the first time in years in my business. I didn't just do an hour or two in the morning while he was asleep. Through that time, that rest period actually really helped me to come back and just be like, okay, we're ready. Let's do this. And I felt very calm and centered about it. I did the outline. I sent it to some people to get some initial feedback. And they were like, oh yeah, that's all right. But I was in that zone of, I'm the hero of the movie, the biopic with the big business, and she doesn't need other people to say yes for her to know it's a good idea. I knew the right people would love it, and I just approached it that way. And I just got into this zone, like I kept my nervous system managed. It's what I do with stress-free launching that I help people with too. I just went out and I did the DMs and I sent them, and I just showed up in this thing of, I have this cool thing, I know it's going to be amazing. And the right people are going to say yes and other people are going to say no. But it's okay because I'm going to celebrate the no's as much as the yeses, and I'm going to do this thing. And I did. And I had a lot of people show up. It was like one of my best events that I've ever run. And I've run events where nobody showed up, where one person showed up. I've done launches where only 2 people showed up, and yet they both ended up buying from me. So don't let low numbers hold you back. I had 8 people on the first call and 5 on the second. It was just amazing. And then I had so much amazing feedback from people. They messaged me afterwards, this is amazing, I love it, I can't wait to come to the next one. And I had 8 people sign up to come back the following month, which was really awesome. Yeah, it's been amazing and so much fun, and it's completely free at this point. I've grown as a leader and shown up compared to those other times I tried to launch group programs and things where I showed up very scared, and you could probably see my fear, which doesn't create that fun experience for people, especially for those sorts of group things. The difference of feeling like I had to be better than myself rather than just being like, okay, here's who I am, and just embodying that leadership. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience. And if anybody has something like their next brave thing that they want to do, let this be your thing, your little nudge from the universe to say, hey, yeah, I can do it.
I love that. It's refreshing to hear you share so openly that it's not your first attempt, and it's taken time to refine your offering and your community that you're wanting to foster and support. I have a similar experience where I've created a few Facebook groups over the years, and they haven't been what I thought they would be. It feels like you're almost having to try and force that engagement, and you can't force people to participate. And whether it's free or it's paid, people are going to show up the way that they want to. As someone that's wanting to facilitate that when you're really passionate about it, it can feel challenging because you just go, I know that this is valuable, and if people just get involved, then they'll love it, but then they don't. And sometimes it's realizing you're on the right track, but you haven't refined it to where it needs to be just yet. I think that's a testament to you to keep refining, trying and testing until you found your thing where you could finally step into that and be like, yeah, I hear what you're saying and I respect your feedback, but like, I know that this is gold already. And I remember when you sent me one of the invites as well, and I read it, I thought, oh, this is amazing. This is what's needed. I don't want to say like just a message, but you could feel the energy and the passion that was behind it. And It's so interesting how you can have that with even just like a nonverbal interaction with someone. You can really still sense how they're standing behind it. I remember being on that first call and you were nervous, but you were there. But I think it was nervous in you were excited and passionate. It was really cool because I think everyone that was on that call held that space for you, and we were all happy to be there and happy that you were facilitating it. I think you were worried that it might have been clunky at first, and everyone was like, no, we're all beginners at this. We're just going to work it out. It was such an amazing way to connect with other business owners, and the questions that you asked straight off the bat were really powerful and thought invoking. I know that our definitions of bravery would probably be slightly different, but I think that is doing the brave thing by taking that first step, whether it's launching the podcast, a business, a online community, running the event, because it's still showing up and it's putting your trust out there that the people will come. And even if they don't, it doesn't discourage you from ever trying again. It is really hard when you are in that iteration where no one shows up. And it's really hard not to take that personally. I used to have a candle business, which has pivoted into a small candle refill business, but I would hold market stalls and there would be no one that turned up. And it happened a few times. And it's really hard because you put all of that work in and then there's crickets and you get the thing where people go, oh yeah, I'll be there, I'll be there. And then no one rocks up. It's tough. Like, it's really tough, but you just keep going. And I think the more that people are comfortable talking about that experience, not the fact that they have failed or anything like that, but it's just, that's a realistic part of business. And I think it's a part that people don't necessarily talk about too much, because you just go, oh, everyone just wants to hear the highlight reels and how successful I am, but not what it's actually taken from myself, bravery wise and courage wise. But it doesn't just all happen at once.
Definitely. For me, I have a process for those times where people don't show up and things like that too, because like I've had that where I've run like master classes and people didn't show up, and I like to send love out to the universe in those situations and just be grateful and just know that it's coming and that kind of thing. And then also have something else to do. It's okay, I'm going to do something else to build my business. So I'll record a podcast, I'll record some training, I will record some content or something, because if you're on a masterclass you're probably all done up in makeup, so it's okay, let's use this. And the same for if I had physical market stalls and things like that, I'd come up with something of, it's okay, we'll just shift into this other gear, we're going to do this other thing, and send love out to those people. I think it can be very easy to just be, here's more evidence that you're not doing well. That's what I spent years doing in my business. See, here's your evidence. It's never going to work. My brain loves to tell me that nothing's going to work. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm stubborn and I'm going to prove it wrong.
I think that's such an incredible tip to share. It takes the pressure off and you are sending that love out, but you're also in that frame of mind already to be delivering something so potent and valuable. So it makes sense, with or without makeup, to leverage that and use that to fuel something else that you're doing, because it could just be a redirection to something else that you're meant to do during that time. That's super hard to see when you're in it and you're trying to not take it personally as well, but it's that opportunity to still do something else. And maybe that just wasn't the thing that you're meant to be doing at that point in time. Leading back into bravery, and something that in hindsight, I would have asked you at the beginning of the episode, but I'd love for you to share what your definition of bravery is.
It's funny, I've been doing this for so long, I forget those basics too. I could have said it at the beginning. It used to be part of my intro and things like that.
I think we just got straight into the convo, and then I should have asked you.
And you mentioned it before, and I was like, oh, because every time you're talking, I come up with 5 different things that I want to say next. So yes, bravery. Okay, so I know a lot of people hear bravery, and usually the first thing, and a lot of people say it to me, oh, let's just feel the fear and do it anyway. I've got that covered. From my perspective, like for those people, absolutely. And those people, they see my content and then they feel brave and then they go do the brave thing. The people who I help, especially like in my coaching, the people who feel the fear and do it anyway isn't working, right? Because your whole body has maybe just shut down and you're in a freeze mode, completely normal. The other things that can come up can be more of, I want to do this thing I've been dreaming of, right? And in fact, I've got one of those. I'm supposed to be writing a book. I've talked about writing the book. I have done nothing else. All of a sudden, I'm super busy. I've booked websites and all of these things, but it's the income. And like, you find yourself super busy, or you find that now is the time you must clean the whole house and declutter it, spring clean maybe. I know it's those times where you can be like procrastinating out of fear, or even like productive procrastination of these other things. I used to be a launch coach, right? And I still do help people with launches a bit and stress-free launching. The amount of times I was helping a client and they'd start planning out the launch, and then all of a sudden they'd get this influx of money and clients coming in, and then they didn't have the time for the launch anymore. That's can be part of like manifestation of, yes, I'm ready for stuff, and all of a sudden it comes in quickly, but then you're also too busy to do the big dream thing. That's where I have this approach to mindset work to help through those things where this is the dream, but I like my body won't let me do it, or I can't do that. Bravery is like facing that deep inner, oh dear God, do I have to be this person? How can I be this person? You can't see yourself as the kind of person who, like in my future, like I want to get up on stages and things like that. And even a year ago, it was like, oh dear God, like just everything in my body just like freezes up at the idea of it. Whereas now I was like watching someone just before we recorded, and she's recording herself doing talks and things, and I'm just like, yeah, it's going to be me. I'm in it. I can see myself in it, and it just, everything feels relaxed, and I'm ready for a new phase, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's just some of those things that I do, and a lot of it is around like visualizing yourself in that future, helping the subconscious to feel like it's already happened. And we do that even in the Brave Coffee Connection calls. We do a visualization at the end so that the body can feel like it's already happening, so it doesn't have to fear it. The other ways that fear can derail you and sabotage you without you really knowing is like you can get sick right as you're about to do things, and that upper limit problem and things like that, or you end up sabotaging yourself all the time without knowing. And it's, yep, everything's going well, I'm making more money, or I'm showing up on social media, and then all of a sudden circumstances conspire and I dropped everything, right? That stop start kind of thing. And so this is where those things from the mindset side of what I do really just help to just keep you more centered and more showing up in this more even way.
I love your definition of bravery and how you share that with your clients and with everything that you do, because for some people, I think they go, oh, I just need to be brave for 1 second of the day, and then that's it. And I think that's where your nervous system, you have to really psych yourself up for it for that 1 second, and then you don't have to do it again. You have to hype yourself up every single time, and then you need a massive rest break because it's taken so much energy just for that one moment in time. Whereas if you can go, okay, bravery is who I am, and you embody it and it becomes one of your core values, then you go, I do the brave thing the whole time. That's a new way of looking at bravery, is because it's not a one-off thing. It can be a lifestyle, for want of a better description. It's the same with living in that discomfort and being okay. It's like picking your level of discomfort. Once you start stepping out of your comfort zone, you crave it more because you just want to keep expanding and growing. And I think when you can give yourself that safe, regulated space to do that, then it becomes easier too. And being brave just becomes a part of who you are. You don't even have to think about it, and you don't have to psych yourself up or procrastinate for 3 days before you do the thing that you've been avoiding for 2 weeks, even though you've spent 5 hours thinking about it and it's going to take a minute to do.
I just want to say there is a big difference too with that whole, like, because I used to do it that way. It's like, I've got to do the brave thing, and I've just got to send the email, and you psych yourself up, and then you finally do it, and then you need 2 hours to recover. And there's still some psych up and recovery time, but with the whole, like, preparing your nervous system and getting the subconscious on board before you take action, it's less of this jagged up and jagged and like crash down. It's smoother. The recovery time is easier. You can get back into doing other things in your business. I try and have break periods between certain brave actions that I take. For example, having to send the DM reminders for Brave Coffee Connections. It's like I do that in a little spurt, and then I have a break, and then having to record reels for it after. It's like I need that break time between them because they take a little bit of that bravery energy. It's not like it used to be where I need 2 hours of recovery time. Just getting that subconscious on board beforehand so it's not fighting you every step of the way, especially if you get into the freeze mode or fight or flight. Things get triggered when you're doing the brave things.
It just gives your mind a space, because you have to be in a different frame of mind for what you're doing, for sending those DMs, and a different energy with putting it out there versus creating the reels. Rather than going straight into the next thing, you're giving yourself that little moment of being able to exhale and then prepare for the next thing. Sometimes that's also what we forget. If we are trying to hustle and do all of the things, you're jumping between different tasks that require different parts of your brain to be working. Sometimes we feel that things aren't going the way that we want, and we're not giving our space in between those tasks to just have a moment to decompress. You need those transitions between your day, and whether it's an hour or 5 minutes, it really depends person to person and the tasks that you're moving between. But I think that transitional period is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting, as you said that, I was reminded of something I wrote in my journal recently, and I think you'd have a really interesting take on this based on the books that you've written, is like, why do I always want to be a machine? There's just this part of me that wants to be this like perfect, productive automaton, go from task to task, and just hates that whole, that I need transition time, that, you know, that I can't just, because some people can, I guess the more extroverted can, they can do extrovert stuff, show up and be visible and do all that stuff, and then it energizes them for the next thing. But yeah, some of us, like, we're not always in that zone. And then depending on where I'm at with my cycle, but yeah, like, why do I always feel like the perfect way to show up, or the productive version of me is this like machine type?
Personally, I think there's an expectation. I think that we've all somehow formed, and the story that we tell ourselves is we need to be in our masculine energy all the time, which means doing and going and going and just pushing ourselves, because that's what we've been told. And that was a lot of the motivational culture, was just do all of the things. Like, you've got 24 hours a day, fill it.
Yeah.
You only need
Yeah.
3 hours for sleep. And who cares about self-care and taking care of yourself and regulating your nervous system? Whereas I feel in recent years there's been a shift, and there's a different way of doing things where you can honor that masculine part of yourself in terms of doing the things and taking the action. But then there's also the feminine side, where you do the inner work and nourish yourself in different capacities. And that's the being part. And I think it's finding the balance between both. And sometimes you may need to be more on your masculine and less in your feminine. And then other times, again, like depending on your cycle, there's so many variables as to where you need to be. It's just experimenting with that and cultivating enough self-awareness to realize, okay, what do I need more today? Do I need to be more soft and gentle with myself, or do I need to take that action? It's such a fine, ever-changing line between, am I just talking myself out of something and avoiding it and procrastinating, or do I genuinely need to give myself this space today? It's very challenging to walk that line, and it does take a lot of self-awareness and self-trust to know what you need. That's where sometimes we go, oh, I'm probably just procrastinating. Like, I don't really need to rest today. So that's why we keep going, because we think that's what we should be doing, rather than having that rest break and going, no, if I give myself today off, then I'm going to come back recharged. Similar to what you were saying earlier when you had the trip with your hubby and you didn't work for that week, and yet you came back and you were refreshed, re-energized, and you had new ideas and you showed up in your business differently. That's where we need to trust that taking a break doesn't mean everything's going to fall apart. If anything, it just gives yourself space to be, but also your brain permission to start closing some of those tabs and processing those ideas in full. Then you can come back and connect those dots and be like, I'm ready for the next thing.
Yeah, that's definitely been one of my lessons that I've been learning. Rest is productive, right? If you see rest as being part of, I can be more productive with rest and things. I've got 3 weeks off coming up. Like, we're recording this in December now. And so, yeah, over Christmas, New Year, I've got 3 weeks off coming up, and just, after last week, that 1 week off, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to launch next? What ideas?
That's the thing too, is like, we do need that time for ourselves. It's just giving ourselves that space to do it. And I think, again, that's where we can look at a rule and go, well, I can throw that out and I can change the game and write my own rule book as well. When you do, it's really cool to see how that honestly like changes the game for you. It is hard, I think, as well, because we've got full schedules, and whether you're working full-time, part-time, building a business, if you've got family commitments, whether it's kids, taking care of parents, or you've got illness or whatever it may be, like, everyone's got stuff going on in their lives. That's where we go, we do need to fill every moment of every day, and you feel that guilt when you're not. But like you said, rest is productive. It's just constantly having to reframe that. And that's definitely one of my things as well, is like, even last night, for instance, my hubby had his Christmas party. And so I was taking care of our baby, and I thought, oh yeah, like, I'll get him to sleep by 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then I will go and do some business stuff. And he did not want to go to sleep. I ended up, he was just like laying on me, and I thought, oh, I could transfer him to his cot. And then I thought, you know what, like, he's not going to be this young forever. I can give myself time to just soak this up. And so I moved out to the couch with him, and he just fell asleep for another hour and a half before I moved him. And I just ended up watching a movie. Afterwards, I felt so rejuvenated, and I thought, oh man, like, this is what I needed. Having that rest without guilt really helps too. And then noticing how you feel afterwards as well, and going, oh, okay, I actually really did need this, and honoring that part of yourself, because you need both. Because building a business is not a sprint. It is definitely a marathon. And if you want to avoid the burnout and the exhaustion and not being able to show up in your business the way that you want for yourself and for your clients, and delivering in the way that you know that you're capable of, you need that rest. as much as you may resist it.
For me, like my thing with my business too has been building it flexibly, so that I can take that rest, especially because I manage chronic illness, so I can take that rest without the guilt too. So I had to do some journaling. I'm safe to manage, to run my business and take breaks and honor my health. There's some elements to that, but I'm so glad that you took the rest. Like, it's when you've done the right move and you're just like, oh yeah, I feel so much better for having done that. And I think for me too, if I've been having the rest for a couple of days and something keeps moving, and then it's like, okay, maybe I just try to do a couple of minutes, see how I feel. And my body tells me the story. It's just, yep, no more rest, or no, like, we can do this.
That's amazing that you've got that connection with yourself to honor that and then to test it. And you go, oh, am I ready to step back into things? And then you might be like, nope, absolutely not. And then other times you might be thinking, yep, I'm ready now. There's a time for building your business, and you may feel like you need to be on 24/7, but the whole point of building a business for most of us is so we have the freedom to spend our time the way that we want. And we should be building something that's working with our lifestyle rather than against it, because otherwise, I mean, I'm in a 9 to 5 anyway, but we might as well just be working a 9 to 5 if we're not going to be allowing ourselves to have that space when we need it to take care of ourselves too.
Absolutely. Although for me, even when I was working a 9 to 5, I was one of those people who was doing all the extra hours. Business is the only solution for me because I'm going to work that hard. Might as well work that hard for me.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when you're driven too, it's one of those things where you just want to be doing what you can and building something for you rather than building it for someone else. Before we wrap up, what's one brave thing you're doing for 2026?
I haven't planned out my 2026 yet. I'll be doing that between Christmas and New Year at this point. Something that I'm leaving behind is actually working with unaligned clients. Yeah, and this has been really hard because amazing people, and they helped me start my business and have worked with me for years and things like that. But yeah, the way that they perhaps want to work, where everything's last minute, everything's got to be stressful, we can't plan ahead and things. And as opposed to some of my more structured stuff for like social media, which is, oh, here's what we do, here's how we do it, there's a plan, and it's as opposed to that more, oh my God, last minute tech stuff or last minute emails and things like that. That's something that I'm planning to leave behind in 2025 and has been a challenge. And then moving into 2026, I'm stepping into leadership with a book, getting on stages. That's what I'm working towards.
Incredible too that you have got yourself ready for it, like energetically. And it goes to show too, it's like with our goals and our dreams, they may have been something that we've been sitting with for a few years, but we're not ready for it yet. We have to evolve into that version of ourselves before we're there. And it's so satisfying and rewarding to see all of the growth and the progress that you make when you know how you felt at the start, when you thought, oh, this is amazing, like I want to be on stages, but then your body's, no, thank you. Whereas now you notice that you're ready. And I think that's just so rewarding and a testament to all of the work that you do, that you've gotten to that point. So I'm very excited to see what happens with Tiff 2026 and see how many stages you step onto, because no doubt is going to be absolutely incredible for anyone that's in the audience.
Thank you so much for saying that too, because I know like sometimes I hear a lot of messages where it's work with me as a coach, we'll collapse timelines, we're going to do this quickly. And it's like, sometimes I just want to go a little bit slower, okay, guys? I just need to go at my own little snail pace. But then when I'm ready, then I jump in and people are like, whoa, what's going on? Like I did with the podcast.
I love that. And I think that's such a Manny Gen thing to do as well, because I'm exactly the same. I will take my time with things. And then when we're ready to go, we go. And I think that's when we do the collapsing of the timelines and do the quantum leaps. It's because we are ready and we've got that energy there and we're like, let's just go. But we need to be in that space so we can do that. It's nice when you know that about yourself too. So we've got to have that passion and that love there and that energy. And then we can do something that might take someone else a year to do in 6 months, because we're in that zone. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was an absolute privilege to have you. And for everyone that is interested, I will link all of Tiff's details in the show notes. And if you are wanting to network, in a different way, I highly recommend jumping on one of the coffee connections in 2026. You will not regret it. It is absolutely amazing. And if you want to work with Tiff, then I will link all of those details as well, because she's an incredible human and you'd be silly not to. So thank you so much, Tiff.
Thank you, Tash. Thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, if anybody wants to reach out on Instagram or whatever, I'd love to chat.
And that's a wrap on another episode. If this one resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future conversations, and share it with someone else who's learning to trust herself again. You can connect with me on Instagram, Tash, where I share more about self-trust, personal growth, and human design. If you'd like to go deeper, you can explore my books and offerings, all designed to support you as you build self-trust and step into the next version of yourself with confidence. Until next time, please remember that you're not too much or too little. You're just you. Keep choosing yourself.